What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Luke's Mind Power. I'm Luke Mind Power, and I have another amazing guest with me today. Her name is Natalia Christensen. She is from Denmark. She's a manifestation coach specializing in the law of attraction, aligned coaching to help you reach your goals and find love. She does private coaching in English and Danish, and she also does long distance healing and channeling. So I want to welcome Natalia.
Thank you so much, Luke. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome to be connected again. I know that we spent some time on one of my expert talks with my company, the High Vibe Project, and that was on the law of attraction. So I'm looking forward to the conversation, and I'm very excited to even learn. Your wisdom is really profound, and I love everything that you talk about. And I look forward to learning how I can manifest more of my dreams and become more, in attunement and in alignment with my spirit and myself, so that I can reach all of my dreams and more, So, I'm looking forward to it. So, look, everybody starts somewhere. Everybody's got a past. Everybody's got adversity or pain or a struggle or something that they've been through in order for them to maybe awaken, or in order for them to really realize that, you know what, enough is enough and I really need to change my life. So let's go back in time, maybe to when you had to go through something challenging that has given you that power now to say, you know what, I got myself out of that and now I'm going to help others and pay it forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Luke, what has happened in my life is very much that something happened at some point, which I think it does for all of us, where we start to identify with this persona, with this made up construct of a person who does this, who says that, who needs to be socially acceptable. And at some point we start feeling so alienated from who we are that we start to get anxiety, we start to feel inauthentic. It really comes with a lot of trauma to separate yourself from your true self, which is something that in society we all do. That is socialization. So I think, to answer your question, I think for me it had just become too much, because when I was a teenager, I started getting anxiety, and it grew and grew and grew and grew. And the thing with anxiety is that it's kind of an alarm bell going off, right? It's an alarm bell going off telling us that we're off track, that somehow we've lost ourselves in this reality that we're living here on Earth. And the mind has taken over. So that's really what happened for me, is that I suffered from, like, I felt like I was playing this character in this role in the game of life. And, I was suffering from it, and I was really happy. I looked like, paper. I really should have been. But I really wasn't. And so I think for me, it was a lot of small steps that led to me saying enough is enough, quitting everything, leaving this country. I'm from Denmark. I love Denmark. What a beautiful place. But I needed to leave this place, and I went into the jungle, and I just took I just pressed pause on everything, and I stayed awake for a whole year. And that's really when the awakening for me happened. Because usually people have that leap awakening, sometimes it's one event. It can be a death of a loved one, or anxiety attack, depression, something that is usually on the spectrum of heavier things, right? But for me, it was like little steps, growing. Yeah.
So how did you get over the anxiety? Because I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with, and I know it's all in the mind. It's you're fighting with yourself to stay positive. You're losing yourself in all these thoughts, and your body's having this negative reaction, and you start getting stressed, and then you feel like you don't have control of yourself anymore. So how do you overcome that?
Well, again, for me, it was step by step, because the first thing that really worked for me when I had anxiety, basically what healed my anxiety was my spiritual awakening, to be honest, to be completely frank, that's what healed it. Um, but very practically, what I started doing was I started doing some exercises where I went from the mind and into the body, because anxiety cannot be solved with the mind. Because, like you say, anxiety is the mind fighting itself. So basically, what I started to do was that I started to get into my body. I started when I had an anxiety attack or something, I would sit down and I would close my eyes and I would try to describe the physical sensations of the anxiety. Because then we take it away from, but it's because of this and that, and the mind going, and what can we prevent, and how, the mind is just like a wild monkey. It's jumping all over the place. And because of the law of attraction, once we're afraid of something, we will attract more fearful thoughts. So it can really spiral out of control. So we need to center into the body and the feelings, because that's really what healed me. It's now I live a life that's very much based on energy and feeling and not so much on the mind, because the mind will never really be able to heal us, because that's where it starts.
So what you're basically saying is it is returning to yourself. It's about loving yourself. It's about that reconnection with your spirit. It's about just stopping and really, really turning inwards and working on yourself, because that's something that I know that a lot of people, as much as I went through it, we are so invested in everything else in our lives except ourselves. Like I know and I believe that the most important relationship that you need to have in your life is with yourself. And that's not taught to us. We're not taught to love ourselves. We're not taught to look at ourselves in the mirror and appreciate ourselves. If for whatever reason we didn't get that attention, that love, that affection, that compassion, that validation from our parents when we were young, then we don't have it within us. And so we weren't taught. We don't have that energy within us. And so as we grow older, you start to have anxiety, you start to feel disconnected from the self. And that's something that I know is happening to a lot of people, and they don't even realize. They're just unconscious to it, because we're living in a really low vibration of life, especially when you're comparing yourself to others, especially when you don't know your self-worth, especially when you're being programmed by the TV and all the negativity that's out there, that's really, really controlling your life and keeping you at a low vibration. So basically what's happening is that you're completely disconnected from yourself and you're not connected to the heart.
Yeah, and you're saying something very important here, which is that actually at the core of all ailments and all, especially anxiety, is disconnection. And that's why this exercise with the body, it works, because it's reconnecting. But even reconnecting with other people and with yourself, it's also healing, because anxiety is like, if you're here, anxiety doesn't start when it's like all coming together here and it's all united. Anxiety starts when parts of you start to drift off from the person that you are. And it's floating around somewhere, and it's longing. Like basically when you feel anxious, your soul is longing for connection. It's longing for connection to itself. And like you say, it's the work on ourselves. It's so important. And it's important because everything that we create within the, I work as a manifestation coach, and I know that everything that we create starts with us. It starts with me. It starts with you. So if I feel anxiety, what I'm going to be creating in my world around me is a lot of things floating on the same vibrational frequency. So connection is really, and that's where it all comes down to love. And I know it's such a cliche. Everyone is like, all you need is love, but all you need is love. Honestly, all you need is love and connection.
So that's
but
such a,
actually,
yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say to anyone listening who actually has anxiety, I just want to say you should praise your anxiety, because it's going to lead you to feel better than you've ever felt your entire life. The universe has to push you a little bit to get you back into alignment with who you really are. Anxiety is just a friend who's trying to tell you that there is a way to live life where you can feel so much better and be accepted for who you are and love yourself and be connected. So really don't be so angry at the anxiety. It will pass, and it is actually just trying to help you.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. Now, solitude. This is something that I invest in daily. It's something that I've been experiencing and living through over the last couple of years. And I know that I had a fear of being alone for a very long time. My experiences with my environment, the people that I was hanging around with, even my family, my sisters getting married and being in relationships and having children, and my friends, most of my I mean, I had relationships, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I didn't have relationships, but I guess there was a lot of heartache, there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of soul searching, there was a lot of, why can't I find the right girl? And when I think about my state of consciousness, 5 years ago, for example, I look at all those experiences and the signs, and I'm like, man, the universe was talking to me every time. It was
Yeah.
saying, it
There's
was
a
saying,
conversation.
yeah, man, it was saying to me, Luke,
Yeah.
you are not in alignment with who you are. That's why you're not getting the right girls, right? You're not in tune with who you are. You're coming from the ego. You only think about sex. You only want, your satisfaction. You're not living your truth, right? You're not loving
No, and
yourself.
what you are is what you're going to get. What
Yeah,
you are
but
is what
that's
you
it.
get.
And so my insecurities, I was attracting those kind of people,
Mm,
and so I didn't
yeah.
understand that. And I look back and I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. So,
Yeah.
so I haven't had a relationship for the last 2 years. And I have to tell you, like, I am where I am because I'm living in solitude, because I love myself, because I love my own company, because I continuously am able to spend time with me and learn about who I am and really, really dive deep into the understanding that we don't really know who we are because we're never taught to take that time to look at ourselves in the mirror, to do things with ourselves. We're always trying to get to know ourselves through other people. And so we're influenced heavily by our environment, by our friends, by our family, get married, have kids, straight away, like you're under pressure already. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you. So let's talk about solitude. How are you utilizing solitude? Because look, I want to just stress as well that there are many people out there in relationships. And so when we talk about solitude, for example, I'm not in a relationship at the moment. I'm only in a relationship with myself, right? Which is enough. Okay. But people who are in a relationship, they may feel like, well, I'm in a relationship, so how do I find myself, or how do I find my truth, or how do I work on myself? I want to stress that solitude you can have even if you're in a relationship. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, let's talk about solitude. How do you understand it, and how do you teach it?
Mm. Well, I agree with you completely. Solitude is so important because, especially when we're going in the beginning of the process of becoming who we really are, we need solitude because we are so influenced by the people around us, especially the people who love us and the people that we love. So it's really about asking yourself. We're really taught by socialization to please everyone else, to please our society, to please our parents, to please our friends. And it's really time, it's in solitude that we can go in and ask, but what do I want? What do I want? How do I feel? Because like you say, this is really, it should be top priority, but for most people it isn't, because we need validation. But at the end of the day, we're going to get to know ourselves and get that validation from ourselves. And just like you, I've spent a lot of time in solitude because at the end of the day, when we wanted, other people are wonderful, and we're here because we're social, we're all interconnected, but everything starts with you. So ultimately we are walking this walk, quote unquote, alone. It does start with us. And I can tell you that I am in a relationship actually now. I wasn't for a while, so I've spent so much time in solitude, which really helped me. But even in my relationship now, I choose a certain time of day every day where I get into meditation. Um, and so however I want to meditate, that really gives me some time for me. And I can see so clearly when I don't do it, how messy my mind will become, because suddenly I will slip back into old patterns and my mind will take over, and I will care what everyone thinks around me. I will care what my boyfriend thinks, what my friends think, suddenly I'll get out of sync with myself. So I'm really religious about meditation, and this could even be yoga. It just has to be some time for yourself. I have these rituals, in the morning I write a gratitude journal, and that's just mine. It's no one else's, it's mine. I write down what I really, in my intentions for the day. And then during the day, when I feel like I need it, I will go into solitude. But it's really interesting because in solitude, that's why a lot of people are afraid of being alone. Like you say, they're afraid of spending time with themselves. They are afraid of the monsters, of their shadow, because it does come up. I was talking to a friend the other day about a Vipassana meditation retreat I did, where you basically, all you do is that you sit in silence and you meditate all day. Some people do it for 10 days, 3 days. Usually it's 10 days. And this is probably, I was just saying to my friend that this is the most horrific experience I've ever had, because when there's nothing but you really get to face yourself. You can't distract yourself from the parts of you that are not healed, from the parts of you that are hurting, that you don't like so much, that you disapprove of. It's all right there. It's much easier to point fingers at other people and be like, oh, but this person is like this. And, but guess what? This person is a reflection of you. So really, we are everything and everything is us. So in that sense, we're always just hanging out with ourselves and our own reflection. But to make sure that we're centered and that the mind doesn't take over, solitude is so important. And don't you feel like in your solitude now, you say, like, don't you feel like you've grown? Like, have you gotten to know yourself better, or how do you feel?
Extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, right.
It's
Mm-hmm.
incredible. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so aware of my thoughts, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
becoming more and more confident with understanding that there are a lot of thoughts that we go through every single day, and a lot of them are not mine.
Oh yeah.
And
Thoughts are contagious. They
yeah,
are.
and that's the thing, and a lot of
Yeah.
them are not mine. They're just programmed thoughts through my experiences or through what I've seen on TV when I was unconscious, what my parents told me, what my friends said, or
Mm.
whatever other experiences I was living through when I didn't know or I wasn't connected to myself, right? And so all this programming is in my subconscious mind, and
Mm.
I'm beginning to consciously override them, acknowledge them, but
Mm.
rewire, reprogram, and create new neural networks in my mind by doing different things and different habits so that I can rebuild that subconscious. But this started for me 2 years ago. And
Mm.
yes, I've come a long way, but I know that I'll never get rid of some of those thoughts. There's always going to be that inner critic. There's always going to
Mm.
be that villain or that self-doubt or that fear that's within you that's going to give you that voice or that negativity that you're not good enough or you can't do it or whatever. And so
Mm.
it
Mm.
really is about you taking action on yourself every single day, and
Yeah.
building those new habits and investing in yourself so that you can get to that point where you actually know who you are, you're confident with who you are, and you understand that 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 fear or that voice is just giving you a little nudge to say, maybe you haven't done this experience before, and so you're a little bit anxious, but that's okay. Keep going.
Yeah. It's okay. And as long as we are human, we're here to learn. So
Exactly.
actually the mind and our egos and our fears, they're just our greatest teachers. And
Mm,
even, I'll tell you, even the most enlightened being, as long as that being is still here on planet Earth and hasn't ascended into a 5D reality yet, we all have that. That's the part of the design. We have the mind, we have the fear, we have the insecurities, we have the self-doubt and all that. And it's really interesting what you're saying, because it's really tapping into something I was just talking about on my Instagram channel, actually just right before I went on here. It's that we think that time heals all wounds, right? We think, because people say, yeah, in time you'll forget, and that's exactly it. Because talking about the subconscious and the conscious, the first step to healing, manifesting, living a life of abundance is actually letting the subconscious become conscious again. Because time doesn't heal. Time just makes sure that all of the bad memories, they go into your subconscious, so you feel like you don't remember them anymore, but they will still play a significant, huge role in your life, but they'll be working from the subconscious instead of the conscious. So step one, and that's why solitude is good, because step one is actually purging all that stored trauma in the subconscious. And that's, people think that, it's so funny, people think that spiritual awakening and working on yourself just looks like a retreat in Bali, where you're sitting on a yoga mat smiling, looking at the view. But oh my God, it's the most horrifying extreme experience, where you're going through all of your trauma. It has to be released, it has to be purged. So it's not a vacation, it's constant work, but the end result you get from it, and the bliss you get from releasing some of these things playing around in your subconscious, it's all worth it, right? But it's a process, and we'll, like you say, we'll keep going back and forth and back and forth. And I've had times in my life where I felt so aligned. I was doing when I was in the jungle, I had some really profound, deep experiences with plant medicine, and just living in the jungle in solitude for 3 months, like in a tree hut. Like, I had some really extreme experiences where I felt so aligned after, and I felt like I could never go back to my old self. And here I am, living in Copenhagen, and sometimes I get so out of alignment still. It's like, it's the back and forth all the time. But I will say that one of the things that really does help when you do this work on yourself is that your resilience gets better. Like, your comeback to yourself is quicker. So back in the day when I didn't know, I hadn't woken up to who I am, if I was going off track, there really was no way of pulling me back into alignment. I had no idea what to do. And now I know, like you say, I can watch myself from outside, and I can be like, okay, I'm off track now. Okay, it doesn't feel good, and it may take a few hours or a few days to get back into alignment, but I kind of know that it's not me. And I want to talk about the thing with the thoughts also that you're saying, that you get other people's thoughts, because this is really a good exercise for people in general, for anyone listening here. It's that when you are hanging out with people, I'm sure that you have those friends that make you think thoughts that, when you really examine them, aren't yours. Fearful thoughts, for example. There's so much fear right now in the world. And I'm sure you have those people in your life where they really trigger fearful thoughts. And that's because thoughts, they're just vibration, like anything else. They're just a vibration. And if you hang around a certain vibration, it will affect you at some point, unless you overrule it with pure love consciousness, which we can't all do all the time. So really be mindful that the thoughts, especially from the TV and stuff like that, they're not yours necessarily. So it's really good to examine and question these thoughts. Is that really me feeling that? Is that really me thinking that? Or did someone else put it there?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's one of my posts on my Instagram, and it says, you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of your thoughts. And when you
Yeah.
start tuning in that like higher awareness, you can make the conscious decision to say, hang on a second, I know who I am. That's not mine. I'm just going to keep moving forward. Thank you very much. Don't try and control me, because that's what it is. Like, you see those thoughts, or you think those thoughts, and then a lot of the times we get stuck in those thoughts.
Oh yeah.
which are actually holding us back, and
Completely.
that's, yeah, it's crazy. But you mentioned talking about time not healing, and I'm like, man, are you have you been spying on my Instagram profile? Because I'm like, I don't
Well,
know.
I do follow you on Instagram
I know. It
actually,
says
but I
time doesn't heal you, you heal you. And I posted that like a few days
oh,
ago.
yeah.
Time doesn't heal you, you heal you.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mention it now because it just gives me a flashback to all my relationships. And when I was in these relationships, there was a couple of them there where I was so invested so much, like with my energy and my love. And I just like, I wanted it. I wanted to be loved. I wanted just to have that person, and I wanted to be married and have kids. I wanted that happy
Mm,
life, you know? And
mm,
every time I got heartbroken, it felt like death. Like it felt so bad. And I was so
oh, yeah.
upset and I was heartbroken. And I
Mm,
used to go through those experiences and I think about it and I'm like, every time I went through an experience like that, when I look at that quote, time doesn't heal. But at that point in my life, time did heal.
yeah. It
Because
pushed it down into
yeah,
the
because as time went on over a month or 2 months, you got over it. You know,
mm,
just because you're like, okay, you
mm,
come to the realization that, all right, well, I'm not going to be with that person anymore. I got to move on,
mm,
you know.
mm,
But this is where we tap into the deeper essence of these abundance blocks, these negative energy, these emotions, this
mm,
disconnection from the self, and
mm,
why we have to release that so that we can grow, you know.
mm.
So
And
yeah.
that's yeah, and what you're saying there is so true. And you know, I work with manifestation with my clients. I work with a lot of things. Actually, it's just a manifestation coach. It's all part of self-love healing and all of that. But the biggest blockage I see in people is those subconscious beliefs, because some people, they'll be like, oh, but I do gratitude journaling and I have sent my desires to the universe and I do all these things, these actions every day, that really, why am I not manifesting? I should be manifesting a relationship, or why didn't I get that promotion? Or but the answer will usually always be that there are some subconscious programming that are actually running the show.
Yeah.
So manifesting is not a shallow thing. It's not, you know, manifesting what you want in your life. It's not a shallow thing, because you have to dig really, really, really deep and heal from within to even make those things happen. Otherwise, we would all, if we had healed all our traumas, all our wounds, we would be manifesting instantly, all of
Yeah.
us. We would
Yeah.
just be like floating around, getting everything we want
Yep.
without
Yep.
any resistance. So that's really what I see a lot in my clients, is those things that have been pushed back. And I do understand I know I do understand the quote about time heals, because it does feel like it, like you
Mm.
say, because after a few months you start thinking about other things, and then you meet someone else, and you know, things happen and you move on. But it just gets pushed somewhere into your subconscious, which makes it so that you, let's say if you have a pattern, I'm not saying you, but if a person had a pattern of their partner always leaving them, they may forget that their first partner left them, but they will still have a vibrational pattern that makes it so that the next person will also leave them. You know, that's how we all have the same kind of patterns in our relationship. The same thing keeps happening over and over if we haven't released it and worked with the subconscious part of it. So, but it can, the good news is that it can all be released. It's not comfortable and it does require solitude and
Yeah. Yeah.
determination, but it can be released. It absolutely can.
Yeah. Look at, it's kind of, it's like a dream, you know, trying to chase that
Mm,
dream or live that dream or have the dream life or be really successful. I think
mm,
that that kind of life, in my point of vision, it starts with, your inner connection with yourself.
yeah,
And everything else
absolutely.
cannot be attracted to you if you not are not attracted to yourself.
Oh no, you're just going to get the reflection of how you feel about yourself. That's all you're
Yeah.
going to get.
And
And that's the thing. Yeah.
I'm
The
just like,
universe can only say yes. Yeah.
yeah, man, like say, you know, when you say yes to life, you know, life says yes to you.
Mm,
And
mm,
I'm
mm,
just seeing so much like how the love like that I have for myself that I've built up over the last couple of years is allowing me now to really manifest and attract the right people into my life that
Yeah.
are guiding me and helping me to live my dreams and to, you know, to grow
Mm.
even more, you know.
Yeah,
And the universe listens, you know.
it does.
You are the, you know, you are the energy that you attract, and whatever you put out there, it comes back to you. But
Mhm.
it's being in alignment. It's going and and working on yourself every single day and showing up and living with that positive energy, that good intention, you know, that putting out good into the
Mm.
world. Because I think the other thing
Mm.
that you were touching on with your clients, saying that, oh, why am I not getting this? Or, you know, I'm doing this and it's not working. And the other thing that a lot of people are not aware of is their ego.
Yeah.
And they're not tuned in to understanding when the ego is present and when it's from their
Mm.
heart. So how do
That's true.
we understand that?
Yeah, well, the it's a process learning how to decipher what is what. But at the essence, I can tell you that the heart doesn't care about anything other than love. The heart is just you know, any desire you may have. You know, I want money, I want you know, career, I want anything that you want is a little bit ego driven. It doesn't matter. We have the ego for a reason and it's all good and we should have everything. And we do, the ego is a part of us and there's nothing wrong with that. But the ego cares about things that the heart doesn't care about. Because if you ask the heart, which is your soul, your higher consciousness, am I good enough as I am here? Single with no money, no friends in this apartment, you know, am I good enough? The answer is just like, yes. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to achieve anything. You don't have to, you are perfect. Like there's nothing wrong with you. But the ego wants us to achieve things to be loved. The ego doesn't understand that we don't need to do anything to be loved other than just being who we are. Um, so usually resistance and ego, they go hand in hand. So when we really center into the heart space, I actually do something that's very, very effective. I think I've started doing a lot of sound healing, and then I'll do a sound healing for the heart, to open up the heart, because the more we center into the body, into the feeling, into the feminine energy, into the heart energy, and get a little bit away from the mind, because the mind and the ego is the same thing. We live from a different space. So it feels like, it's so hard to describe, but ego feels like striving and never enough and you know, like that. It doesn't feel satisfied. It never really feels satisfied. And the heart feels satisfied all the time. But it's like, but living this life is a beautiful play between these two things, you
That's
know. That's
interesting
why
you mentioned that, Natalia, because I just had this kind of epiphany about how I work and how I show up and how I
Mhm.
do my content, how I deliver, how I speak. I have a constant voice that's within me
Mm.
that I'm very critical. I'm very judgmental of my delivery, of how I speak. Right now, I'm
Mm.
in flow. Right now, I'm in sync, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
connected. You can feel it, right? Right?
Yeah,
But
again.
but there's so many times on so many occasions after I do a video on Instagram, after I do a video on TikTok, after I do some sort of live on Facebook or whatever it is, I finish up and then in my mind I'm like, you screwed up, or that wasn't good enough,
Mm.
or you didn't say it right, or that probably wasn't really good, or there's just something there. And it's
Mm.
like, and yeah, it bothers me, you know. But the thing is, what
Mhm.
it does is that it makes me keep going higher and higher,
Mm.
because I know that it's
Yeah.
there, but I don't listen to it. I just keep posting anyway. I think that's
Mm.
definitely something that a lot of people would go through, and hence why they would probably give up, or why they wouldn't think that they're good enough. And I have that,
Yeah.
and that's also the ego as well, saying that was shit. You know, you could have done better. You know what I mean? But that's
Mm.
actually something that
I know
drives
what you
me.
mean.
That drives me. You know, it's the same
Exactly.
thing from someone external to come at me and say, stop doing videos, or, you know, you're not making sense. Or, you know, what you're saying is
Mm.
stupid. And then for me,
Yeah.
because I know who I am and I'm connected from the heart and I love myself, right? I've learned to now not react. I'm learning to sometimes just, you know, the best response is no response, or to
Mm.
actually be aware of the way that I feel and my emotions, and
Mm.
just be able to respond from the heart.
Yeah. And be okay with not being perfect, because that's the thing with the ego wants you to be perfect, because if you're
Mm,
not perfect, you're not accepted, and if you're
yeah,
not accepted, you're not loved, and if you're not loved, you're alone, you know. So the ego wants you to be perfect, and what you're saying there is so important, because the heart, source consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it, doesn't need you to be perfect. What you're doing is just fine. If you just did some kind of video where you were stumbling on your words and saying all the wrong things, that's just fine. But the
absolutely.
ego doesn't think so. So that it does really push us.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
absolutely.
it does play an important role. Like, I don't hate the ego. It's very interesting to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, I know.
I
Like,
don't hate it.
it's like saying, look, fear is my friend. You know,
Hmm.
it's just like
Yeah,
this little bird on my, or whatever it is, whatever you want to call the fear, the little lion or tiger, or,
yeah,
you know, negative inner villain. And I'm like, I hear you, bro. It's all good. I got this. You know, I know you're there.
yeah,
It's fine. Just make him
yeah,
your friend. You know, because it's nothing
yeah.
to be afraid of. Absolutely. But Natalia, look, you talk about the law of attraction. I want to achieve my ultimate dreams, and travel the world, and speak on stages to
Yeah.
thousands of people and change so many people's lives. And I want to have my own house, and, you know, whatever you can desire. I want to have a beach club, and I want to dance, and I want to party, and I want to, you know, I want to make a music
Mm,
video with a famous rapper as
mm,
well, because I love rap music, you know. So I want all my
yeah.
dreams to come true, right?
Hmm.
How do I
Yeah.
do that? What kind of advice can you give to someone who just came into your office and they're like, I want
Mm,
all my dreams to come true? How can the law of
yeah.
attraction make that happen for me?
Yeah. First, I would start by saying, you may not believe this, but it's the subtle little shifts that are going to change your world. You're not going to jump from sitting here in your studio to a million people watching you on stage. It's the subtle little shifts that are going to make your world explode and blossom into what you actually want. So, first of all, I would tell the first thing I always do with my clients is that I make them like the reality that they're actually living now. Because if you're not happy where you are now, you cannot attract more happiness.
Mm.
The happier you are, the better you attract your dreams. So if you're constantly looking at what you don't have, if you're visualizing yourself on this stage and you're like, yeah, but I'm not there yet, and by the way, I'm also like, that other video is so stupid and I'm not that, you're not going to attract it. You have to. And that's what people say, but I don't like my reality. And then I'm just like, you better start liking it for what it is right now, because nothing, otherwise you're going to keep on attracting things you don't like,
Or you need
because
to
you
change it.
attract what you are, or you need to change it drastically. But everything starts with your vibration. So you need to change your mindset. Really, you need to change your mindset. And then next, there's all the healing, there's the trauma that we need to release, you know, the blockages
Mm.
that I release with my clients, because anything is possible. And the subtle little shifts are actually what makes it happen. Consistency and subtle little shifts.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling that. And there's a lot, man. Like, I know you just, you know, just mentioned a few things, and I'm like, man, you know what? It's a big process. You know,
Yeah.
even when you talk about vibration, and it's like, well, hang on a second, how do I raise my vibration?
Yeah, I
And
know. Yeah.
that's a process, you know. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
again,
And there are a lot of tools, but yeah, there are
absolutely,
tools to raise your vibration as well. And you can do that, but you have to do it consistently,
absolutely. Yeah, it
right?
is a process.
So,
Everything's a process. It's
mm,
taking those little actions every single day that really builds up to being, you know, that big bundle of success and happiness and love and joy that you want in your life. And it's through these little actions that you
mm,
can do that. Powerful stuff. Natalia, where can people find you?
People, they can find me on, primarily what I use at the moment is my Instagram channel. So they can type in Natalia Christensen and they can find me there. I post, you know, every day. I do videos on these things, a lot of free manifestation tips for people, and I'm available there. I am going to invite people to join my Facebook group as well, if they feel like they want to be in conversation with like-minded individuals who are going through a spiritual awakening and who are wanting to manifest dreams, because we really, that's not only me, that's a whole community coming together in there.
And what's
It's
that
called High
Facebook?
Vibe Circle.
Yep.
It's called High Vibe Circle. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And yeah, it's for anyone. The only thing I ask is that if you apply request to become a member, just answer there'll be one question for you. Why do you want to be a member? And please just answer that, because I try to keep the group a really safe space so we don't get intruders who don't care about, you know, us and our journey. So just answer that question and you'll be most welcome.
Absolutely. Natalia, it has been an absolute pleasure and privilege and a
Likewise.
blessing to share this space with you. You know, I feel your energy, you know, I feel really connected to you, and I feel in such a power place of being. And as I mentioned before, in flow. And when I'm in my flow state, that's when I'm living and breathing that love and that passion and that high vibrational frequency that I'm living on every day, you know. So thank you so much for your time. And yeah, I
Thank
just can't
you.
wait to stay connected with you and to continue to support you and cheer for you, you know, in everything that you create. And hopefully maybe one day we'll share the stage.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. And thank you,
Absolutely.
Luke. It's always a pleasure to have these conversations with you. It's I really admire what you do, and I admire the way you work and all the things I can see what you're putting out there into the universe. You know, you're in conversation with the universe in the work that you do. So it's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Just one quick question before we finish up. What's one tip that you can give someone in order for them to start the process of loving themselves?
Of loving themselves, I would start every morning by writing down 5 things that I actually like about myself. Not things that you don't like. You have to be honest. It can't be like, oh, I love my thighs, and really you don't really like them. It has to be like, oh, I love my nose. And it doesn't have to be physical things. It can be, I love that I'm caring towards other people. It
Mm,
can be, I love that I'm a good singer. I love that I'm good at my job. You know, just every morning, start yourself off with a little pep talk. And it literally, it can take 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you want it to be, but around 5 things that you actually like about yourself, and do it consistently. That'll make you be in a higher vibration about yourself and how you are in the world.
Natalia, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.